one of the things that I'm really concerned about is the district administrator will discuss with the board president of any request as deemed necessary. I'm not so sure that's something that should be in there simply because it doesn't give enough oversight to the process, and depending on different situations, that could also restrict important information that a board member may need. So that's just a comment. I would just add that the future boards should kind of look at this and consider it and understand that this may impact future boards. I wouldn't say this board particularly, but future boards down the road. It may impact them and the access to their information that they're allowed to receive to do the community's work.
Rich, can you speak to that a little bit? I know we talked a little bit about that at the committee meeting.
Yeah, we did discuss that at the committee meeting. I did some follow-up with both Neola and with our legal counsel on that. As Rick mentioned earlier, that is a new policy, so it's not an update to an existing policy. It's also not a required policy. It is recommended by Neola, and it's also recommended by our legal counsel. And in general, it reinforces that board members have the same rights as any community member to make an open records request and to have access to any information that's covered under the open records laws. But there is some information that board members don't have a right to, that individual board members don't have a right to. There's confidential information, for example, employee medical records or student disciplinary records. That individual board members would not have a right to access those private records unless for some reason it is in their role as a board member. An example where it might be in their role would be if we have an expulsion hearing for a student, then that student's discipline records would become something that would be available to the board. So this gets at that, but it also gets at the idea that the board works as a group, and the board has their power as a group, and that individual board members need to make sure that they're working through that group if there is information that they want. So it details, I'm going to toggle back to that because I don't want to misquote the recommended policy, but it talks about filling information requests, whether it's myself or one of our directors or one of our principals. If a board member has information that they want, if that information is readily available, we want to make sure that we get that information to the board member, and oftentimes to all board members, so that each of the individuals are making decisions at the board table based on the same information and having access to that same information. But that policy also ensures that individual board members aren't making a decision on their own to look for pieces of information that would, and then here's where I wanted to use the language that they use, that would require lengthy research and investigation. If that isn't something that the board as a whole wants the district administrator or an individual administrator or principal to be spending their work time compiling. So it really lays out that open records request information or other readily available information should and will be available for any individual board member or for the full board, but it lays out a process that involves the district administrator, the board president, and then the full board if needed to make that determination if there is information requests that require that lengthy research and investigation. It was the Neola rep reinforced that it isn't a required policy, so we don't have to adopt it, but they recommend that districts do, and our legal counsel gave us that same advice. They assisted in writing this policy based on situations that have happened in districts across the state, and it covers our back as a school district. I know that the possibility is out there that decisions that are made by individual board members can have an impact on the full board and on the district, and that this helps to limit those types of situations too.
So, Rich, I agree with everything you said, but you still haven't alleviated my concern, especially when it comes to the superintendent and the president of the board making the ultimate decision on some of those requests. To me, I think you said it before, it should be a decision by the whole board. I don't think it should be coming down to just two people. But again, that's my opinion, and that's my recommendation as you guys go forward. But you can do as you see fit.
And we can look through the language and how that's worded again. I don't think the intent of that, and my understanding of the way it's worded isn't that the district administrator or the board president or the two of them would be able to squash attempts by individual board members for information, but that they would discuss and then potentially bring it to the full board so that the full board has an opportunity to decide if that's a direction that they want to go. But we'll look through that to make sure that language matches my understanding of it and that it's clear too.
Thank you. Any other questions on the first reading? Next on the agenda was the second reading and possible approval, adoption of the NOAA policy updates.
Thank you. This list does include 4 policies listed in board docs, which the administration is requesting, and the committee is recommending approval of both the first and second readings tonight. These 4 policies have updated language regarding class rank and the Laude language. And those up for second reading are listed in board docs. Anyone have any questions or comments about any of those? Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve and adopt the policy updates as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion from Rick, seconded by Jennifer, to approve the additions to our policies as he outlined. Questions on any of those? All in favor of adoption, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed? Those are added to our policy book. Thank you, Mr. Rick. And you can retain the floor because HR is next.
Okay, thank you. HR committee met last week on Wednesday, the 7th. First item on the agenda is a health savings account and high deductible health plan information. Chris.
There is also a video that was created and shared with the Benefits Advisory Group, and I'll be sharing that out with board members later this evening. But both the presentation with the voice overlay and the talking points reference the same materials. So you'll see the information on the first page talks about the annual deductible is $3,000 for a single plan and $6,000 for a family plan. And this is a new health plan that is different than our current HRA plan that we have right now. So the district is exploring an option of having them side by side. We're not looking to replace the HRA. It would be potentially adding an HSA next to the HRA. So employees have the option, if they so choose, to join the HSA rather than the HRA. Or if they're content with their HRA, they're able to stay there. So the first document just talks about those talking points and the health savings account that will be created if the employee decides to enroll in that plan. On the second page of those talking points, it outlines the positives and negatives. In my opinion, the biggest positive is it really encourages consumerism on the employee's part. But there's also negatives to make sure that the employee takes into account before they're electing the HSA plan, if that's what they so choose. Again, just information that we are sharing with the Benefits Advisory Group, information that we shared with the HR committee, and now the information that we're sharing with the board. Any questions on those talking points?
Yes, I see you have a comparison from different districts. Have you thought about what you would be looking at for an HSA for the district would help cover or not?
Absolutely. And thank you, Kelly, for the segue. That is that document that Kim has up right now. And the three districts on the top are with Badger South group. And you'll see Fort Atkinson, Stoughton, and Watertown. Watertown has an interesting setup. And in talking with Al Yeager with SI, Fort Atkinson and Stoughton have a traditional, what the district or the school district of Milton is currently exploring. So up there, we are looking to do something similar, Shelley, to the single plan of $2,750 and the family plan of $5,500.
And would that be deposited at one full sum or spread out?
And we're not sure yet. Those are the conversations that we are going to be having at this coming Wednesday, Benefits Advisory Group, then the HR committee, and then we're going to be coming back to the Board of Education later this month with more of those details.
I know that was difficult for me personally when we went to that route because of us having high prescription costs. That 1 through July, they wouldn't reach that deductible, and we had to come up with thousands of dollars, which was hard at that time.
Correct. Yep.
Because there is no prescription plan, but once you hit it, it's fine, but it's just coming up with that initial.
And those are some of the conversations that we've had at the Benefits Advisory Group, and those are the concerns shared by those members. That would definitely fall underneath one of those negatives. And maybe the HSA plan is not for those individuals at this time. I mean, maybe once we are able to share out some options, whether we're looking at quarterly or more often than that, that may be doable for some employees.
Chris, just a comment on the HSA plan. If you look globally, HSA types of plans are really the trend line in healthcare. And I think offering that as a complementary plan to the HRA plan makes a lot of sense, especially for those who, I mean, certainly nobody can anticipate all of their medical expenses, but with the dollar amounts that are presented as potential employer-made contributions, I mean, you can, over a relatively short period of time, cover your deductible, and there's no use it or lose it provision. So the idea of, if you can string together a bit of good health for a period of time, the monies can be used for other things like braces and some other things that are other expenses that traditionally are out of pocket that can be covered with HSA contributions. So I think having this as a complementary plan to the HRA makes a lot of sense for a lot of people.
Thank you. Brian, you were going to say something?
Yeah, actually, Shelley kind of asked the question, but I can just give you my own personal experience. I actually tried both, the regular, normal, traditional health insurance and the health savings. And yeah, I think what you said is pretty much right on, and that it's an option for some people. It's not going to be a good option for everybody, but at least they have the option. I applaud you for that. And yeah, it's just another benefit that may or may not work.
Thank you. And Brian, if you'll remember back, and Joe, I mean, when thinking back 3-4 years ago, we were kicking this option around at the Benefits Advisory Group, at the HR committee, and at the board level too. It's just that there's always something that came up and it kind of pushed it back to the back burner. So we're to that point where we'd like to be able to explore it further, try to get some feedback from the board, from the HR committee and the Benefits Advisory Group about potentially moving forward with it.
I think one thing that really jumped out at me, and it's up on what Tim has up there now, over on the right-hand side, the staff satisfaction with the plans through the districts.
Correct.
A lot of people are very satisfied or satisfied with that, and I think those are some great numbers.
And that is an initiative by our Greene and Rock County districts. When talking with Al at USI, we talk about Greene and Rock counties, but we also talk with Dane County, and we also talk with Badger Conference. So there's a lot of different districts that we talk with. And this is with the Greene and Rock. This is the only one that currently has the staff satisfaction survey, but I believe Al is looking to increase that into the Badger South as well. So as more districts gain some of that traction and experience under the HSA, we'll be rolling that out as well. We'll have more data about that staff satisfaction.
Yeah, and the HSA is functional if the district puts the full sum in July 1st. The problem was when where we were at, we had 1,000 and then some in January, and then, well, I don't need that deductible in January, I need it in July. So I think these districts have probably had good working, positive relations with it. Probably had that full sum put in, and that would alleviate a lot of issues.
And then the flip side of the coin, not trying to play devil's advocate here, but as soon as that is deposited in an employee's account, if they resign the next day, that is their money. So that is something that we have to be cognizant of as well. But yes, absolutely, Shelley, you're 100% correct. If that amount was put in and the employee experienced that the very next day, they would have those funds to be able to draw on.
Chris, I think one other thing as we look long-term with an HSA type of plan, if you're looking at the percent of an employee's compensation that's devoted to the cost of insurance, this is one of those tools that can help bend the curve and take what have been. I know just looking in my own experience in our industry, 7 or 8% annual increases and bring them down to maybe 3 or 4%, which long-term can have a significant change in the overall cost of delivering benefits. So again, I think the idea of offering this in concert with an HRA, both today and looking long-term, has a lot of merit.
So Chris, I have a question. So if you look at Fort Atkinson and Stoughton, I'm just looking at the single, you could look at the family too, but so the employer's responsibility of that $3,000 deductible in Fort Atkinson and Stoughton is $250, correct? Is that what that's indicating?
That is correct, Mike, with the caveat that if it's the employee's choice to be able to use that HSA to help with that deductible expense. So I want to be very careful about saying that is all deductible help when it's really the employee's choice. If they want to use it, like I was mentioned, braces, then they're going to move that money to that need, and they're going to have less of that help with their deductible.
Right, but ultimately the bottom line is they have to come up with $250 to cover. And currently for a single, it's only $100, correct, in the HRA?
That is correct.
So I guess my question is, if you put those side by side, what would the incentive be for someone to pick the HSA if they're going to have to pay more money out of pocket ultimately?
That, Mike, really comes down to how healthy you are and what your family is experiencing. If you're just looking at a single plan, you really would base it off of what am I going to need for this upcoming year? And then you would look at saying, here is my need. And I can come out ahead with that HSA money that's going to be deposited in my account. That's going to be mine. And I'm able to roll it over year to year to year, but also make some interest on that as well.
So plus with an HSA, they're gonna have savings and premium.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And that's the next point I want to get to too. But I don't want to jump too far ahead in the documents because I have quite a few of them to go through.
That's an incentive.
That is correct.
So-
I didn't hear that, sorry.
No.
We have,
Yes,
so,
thank you.
yeah,
Yes, there is an incentive in the premium actually gets reduced too. So that it's going to cost less coming out of your payroll check, and that you're actually, depending on what your year looks like, what kind of expenses you incur.
Thank you.
And if now is a good time, I will jump into the next document that puts the HRA and the HSA side by side, Mike, and that will get to where those premium amounts are different. And one thing I will note, we had Carrie and Rich and I received some good information and some really exciting news. Dean came back with a 0% increase for the upcoming year. So we originally started with a 6.9 rate cap when we moved from 2 health insurance providers to 1. Then with Al Yeager's help, that was pushed down to a 3.9 rate cap. And now again, with Al's help, we are at a 0% increase going into 21-22. So then you'll see here that on the far right side of this document, if our whole population moved over to the HSA, and Kim, can you scroll down just a little bit? You're going to see right there the negative 5.64%. That would be realized if our entire staff moved from an HRA to an HSA. And then going back up a little bit, you'll see that the premium amounts would be $519.99 for a single plan, $1,221.89 for a family plan, compared to the HRA, it's $681.48 for a single plan, and $1,601.48 for a family plan, which gets back to your point, Mike, too, is where the premium decreases are going to be realized in the payroll checks. Questions on this document right here?
Has there been any discussion about just going to this, not saying, okay, it's either this or this?
No, because right now I would be very, very leery of moving the whole district to this, because we would have no educational period whatsoever. The educational piece on an HSA compared to the HRA is night and day difference. There are so many different things that employees are going to have to know about just transitioning from one plan to the other, especially if they have to. Where we think it's manageable is if they're given a choice. So if those employees feel that they can manage this change coming from an HRA to an HSA, and they don't have those kind of claims and they don't have that history, this may be a plan for them. But we want to make sure that we're giving that choice. Otherwise, if we're moving the whole district over to an HSA, Mike, I'd want a year and a half would be great to educate everybody on all the ins and outs of everything that comes along with an HSA. There's a lot of what if scenarios that even I don't know about.
You're not proposing doing the whole Okay, I kind of figured that was the
But
case.
I would interject here. I was in that meeting and I asked Al specifically, and I think this hints at what Mike is asking. If you read the tea leaves, the majority of districts now only offer an HSA. So they have migrated to just this over some period of time. He said there's a few districts that are still offering the side-by-side that we are, but it is in essence a transitional approach because they have all, not all, the majority of them have migrated to an HSA only option.
I guess the reason I asked that is because, you know, for 30 years, I lived through all the transitions of the different insurance. And when we went to an HRA, there was a lot of change in that too. And the process is still a little confusing at times. But the reality is when things change, you adjust. And if this makes more financial sense, not only to the district, but also to the employers or the employees, I think it's probably something that's worth looking into.
And this from my standpoint and in talking with Rich and Carrie and the Benefits Advisory Group and the HR committee, we want to make sure that we're bringing this forward for consideration instead of pushing it to the back burner because no longer kicking the can down the road, as one would say.
Chris, I think your approach is good with the HRA, HSA. I think kind of to Mike, looking to the future, after a certain number of people choose to move into that plan, recognize some savings and recognize the value of not losing what they're not using as far as their HSA balances, that other people will gain comfort and probably over time choose to move that direction. Because again, I think over time employers are going to see the benefits outweigh the concerns, especially when their colleagues have had a chance to give them some commentary on it. So again, I think what you've laid out here in the approach of implementation over time with people who are ready to do that makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels.
Do you think the Delta statistics have anything to do with the fact that maybe a lot of people didn't go to the dentist during COVID?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just wondering what will happen after this year and now that everyone's going to go back and get their fillings filled in there.
Absolutely, we could realize a swing.
Yeah.
Going into 20.
But for the coming year, that's good news. Yeah.
along with reviewing other district wellness models that included multiple clinic type models. The district began the process of surveying staff interest in the clinic model, working to gather aggregated data under one insurance provider. In March of 2020, the pandemic caused health and care industry to reevaluate how it provided health care to the population. In addition, the Human Resources Department introduced Dean's Health Transformation Consultant, Kathy Chambers, to district staff. Kathy has been meeting with staff virtually to support their wellness goals and answer their questions. The Benefits Advisory Group and the Human Resources Committee are reviewing an enhanced care pilot program. This is the packet that's included within your board packet, which provides a combination of clinical, virtual, and in-home / at-work services. This includes a partnership with 6 other school districts: Fort Atkinson, Whitewater, Stoughton, Evansville, Cambridge, and Edgerton. More information will be shared with the Benefits Advisory Group, HR Committee, and the board as this process begins to unfold. So if you remember back to those days where we were talking about consolidating to a single health insurance provider, what does that clinic model look like? Is it brick and mortar? If so, is it an on-site within the school district? Is it near site? Or is it something more in a virtual setting? Based off of that pandemic, the situation has evolved to lean more towards that virtual setting. So within these school districts, we've been talking about what do we want to see. And then we are working with USI, Al Yeager and his team, and Dean to figure out what that model is going to look like. So I'll continue to present that information to the HR Committee and board and the Benefits Advisory Group as more information is made available. Any questions about that process, about the information included in the board packet?
Thank you, Chris. Next on the agenda is the phone line of the upcoming meetings. This, on the 14th, we'll be meeting with the Benefits Advisory Group. Then on the 15th, and I think both the 21st, the HR Committee?
That is correct. Yes, on April 15th, HR Committee and negotiations. Yes.
And then with, sorry.
Then with the possibility of maybe bringing something back to the board 2 weeks from tonight, right?
Absolutely. And again, we'd be looking at amending the benefit to be able to offer both plans. But again, we're still working out those details.
Okay.
One quick note, Rick, open enrollment. If we did move forward with this, we would be looking at giving open enrollment to our staff starting maybe around May 3rd through the 21st. So they would have a 3-week window to be able to make their decision, turn that information back into us. We share it with Dean. Dean is able to get their insurance cards out to them on or before July 1st, when the plan would change over, potentially.
Okay. And last on the HR committee is the 2020-21 summer school staffing memo.
So on this item, this is just an FYI to the Board of Education, because this is actually the memo I shared with you all last June, and outlining the need for 143 summer school employees, but that was for the 2021 year. So summer school is a little different in the fact that when this memo was created, we were looking at staffing for July of 20, August of 20, and then jumping forward to a couple months from now, June of 21. So in the upcoming months, I'll be putting together another recommendation on staffing, and we're going to look at putting that forward for 21, 22. But as of right now, based off of the 143, we can definitely work with that number, and working with Sarah Stuckey with the summer school program, we're very confident. And if all of a sudden that number changes, we'll be coming to you to add some FTE if that is needed.
Chris, can I ask a question?
Of course.
So I know as we're exiting the pandemic to a certain extent now, I'm assuming staff and teachers and administrators are having a chance to see more firsthand, maybe some of the students that have struggled through some of the semi-virtual and things like this. As I read through this, one of the things that concerned me was, do we have enough resources in place that if teachers say, you know, we need more of the academic enrichment in summer school to help some kids and working collaboratively with parents, I guess my question is, do we have enough resources there, or is there the opportunity for us to go back to that? I had a chance to chat with Rich a little bit about it, and my only concern is that, you know, we have a window to, if there are students who are identified to need some help, to try to help them. And my only thought is that we don't hamstring anyone with lack of resources if that becomes evident. And I know Rich shared with me that there is an opportunity to shift through this and make some changes if need be as we approach potentially an August session of kind of some jumpstart classes. But I know one of the things that I've thought a lot about is the students who maybe need a nudge to help them forward, and making sure that we are ready and have things in place to help them. So I don't know if that's a question on my part or a comment, but just want to make sure that we are in a position to, to help kids if they need it, get back to where staff and teachers and parents and the kids themselves would like to be.
Great point, Dave. And I'm going to have Sarah speak to that piece of it.
Yes, that is definitely something on everyone's mind right now as we've dealt with a lot of interrupted learning, and we want to make sure that we give lots of opportunities for our students. As Rich, it sounds like, explained to you, our August program will be the academic jumpstart focus for grades 2 through 8. We do have lots of academic support happening for our high school students during our June and July program. So there's credit recovery courses available for students who struggled this year at the high school level. That's already staffed and ready to go for June and July. And then in August, we are working on identifying through our iReady diagnostic assessment, those standards that a lot of our students struggled with, and really trying to have a laser focus, because those are just 2-week classes on some of those prerequisite skills that will help them be most successful moving into the next year. So we'll be analyzing that data coming up here in the next few weeks. Our students at the K-6 level, some have already taken it, some are taking it, finishing it up this week. And then we'll use that to help us kind of guide what needs we have to plan for that August jumpstart. We'll be recommending students based on that, and then working to develop the staff. So your question about resources, we definitely have the positions to be able to staff a program that will address academic needs. We may not have applicants. That's something that is a reality right now. We did have to drop some of our enrichment classes, and we're currently not fully staffed for the jumpstart in August for some of those classes. So it's a matter of staff availability and interest, being aware of their social and emotional needs coming off of a year plus of teaching in a pandemic. So it's definitely a balancing act, but it's a challenge that we're working through, and we're hopeful to be able to provide those academic opportunities.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, well, that's all I've got. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Rick. Okay, moving on. We have one item of new business, and I will invite Mr. Billhorn and Mr. Ruggles to move towards the microphone. Presentation on MHS STEM pathway.
They have one, mostly next week is one.
All right. So Mike and Jennifer, if you'd like to come to the other side of the table, feel free. Jeremy and I are going to be sharing a presentation up on the screen. You don't need to move, but we're not going to talk verbatim from it. We will share out this presentation with you afterward, because we do have a video embedded in this presentation that we're not going to take the time to show tonight. So we will share all this with you in email tomorrow as well. So we wanted to take an opportunity here tonight to talk about where we've been and where we're headed with the STEM and our career pathways here in Milton. And we thought as we came back from spring break and the students were welcome back into the new STEM space, this would be a good opportunity for us to bring you guys in, show you that wonderful new space, talk about it, talk about the things that are happening there, and then Jeremy can share more about our career pathways and all the great work that they've done here over the last many years. I can think back to one of my first conversations I had when I came to Milton 3 years ago. It was with Jeremy around STEM. And we were talking about passions and philosophies of education. He was sharing with me some of his plans for the school and some of the things that he was working on already. And we found that common bond. We found had an awesome opportunity to collaborate around something that we thought would be amazing to increase here in Milton. I have a quote from the National Science Foundation. And they're one of the, I guess, big reasons why STEM education in the United States has grown so much since the early 1990s. And I'm not going to read the quote verbatim, but when we talk about the why of STEM, it really comes down to the challenges of globalization and the new knowledge-based economy and how we have to change and adapt what we're doing and the opportunities we're providing for our students as we are sending them off into a brand new world and a brand new economy. I think one of the best conversations that we need to have, or that we have as educators, is what do we want our kids to be able to do when they graduate? And STEM has really helped us redefine what that is, what we want our students to do. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Okay. So just a little bit about STEM. So the STEM education movement really started in the early 1990s, and it advocated moving away from this segregated and siloed way that we looked at science, technology, engineering, and math education. And it was trying to connect teaching to the outside world. It was trying to connect teaching to the world of work. You know, there's been lots of discussions between educators and the world of work, and something we've always asked is, what do you want to see in your employees? You know, how can we be better? How can we better prepare our students for not only college, but also career? You know, so through all those conversations, really STEM picked up a lot of speed in the 90s. I did want to talk a little bit about STEAM, because in the last several years, there has been a kind of movement to include the arts into STEM as well. And the reason behind that is when you think about any sort of design thinking or creativity, arts are such an essential component for that innovative piece, right? No, we didn't intentionally leave the arts out here in Milton. We're searching for the right model. We've talked with DPI, we've talked with lots of other districts. So we want to make sure that we're very mindful of that conversation, and that as we are talking about STEM, that we're not forgetting about the arts, and that they are part of our plan for the future. Another piece of ROI, can you move on to the next slide, please? Is something, you know, when we talk with our students about skills and what we want them to be able to do when they graduate, give them good opportunities, preparing them for jobs, obviously is a big piece of that. I shared some data up on the screen with you around salaries and percentages of growth in employment in the STEM fields. So since 1990, we've seen a 79% growth in STEM occupations. Just amazing, just explosion. From 2017 and 2019, looking to 2027 and 2029, this was just before the pandemic, mind you, it was, I guess, predicted that STEM jobs would jump by 13% and IT jobs would jump by another 11%. Now, that was before the pandemic. Now as researchers are looking at those numbers and the world of work has changed dramatically in the last year, we're thinking those numbers will go up even more into the future. That's some of the why that we talk to our kids about on a regular basis, and that's going to segue into career pathways.
All right, thank you, Ryan. And I appreciate the opportunity from the board to give us a chance to talk about this. This is obviously, I'll talk about this over COVID, 10 times out of 10, and what we should be talking about at board meetings. But no, this is I appreciate those that came tonight and others that come for tours too, to take a look at the STEM wing. It's something we're really, really excited about. And it's been thrilling to see kids in there. And as we've talked about this, we've said this on how many different tours that we gave as prior to the referendums or with the referendums, is that we have a lot of the program here. We're looking for the space in order to do that. And that's what we're able to celebrate here tonight. When you take a look at STEM education, so much of it really is the integration of science and technology and engineering and math. It's not having these, as Ryan said, these courses taught in silos, but really being able to bring them together. He also mentioned, some of the data with regards to STEM careers, and as in high schools in Wisconsin throughout the country, we really talk a lot about pathways. And as one of the things that we do here at Milton, as schools do across the country, is that we are analyzing where are the jobs coming? Where are the fields that are up and coming fields? That's one of the roles that our counselors play. Amy Kenyon, the school career coordinator, our administrative team, Ryan, as we take a look at where do we can do a lot of different things in high school. We can put a lot of different efforts into a lot of different courses, and sometimes we have a lot of different classes. But as we try to organize them for our students and organize them to where are we going to put our time and our resources, we've really organized them around these career pathways. And while we have those pathways in a variety of fields, and there's actually Amy Kenyon has done a great job organizing those on the websites. I've articulated 6 of those pathways here to demonstrate what are the 6 that are the main areas that are being fulfilled through that new facility. So, our taxpayers and our community has put forth a great investment in what that building is. There's 34,000 square feet of instructional space in that STEM wing. And we wanted tonight to show where are those pathways, what are those areas that we're able to focus now, but also the flexibility to continue to change as we move forward. And that's the whole idea of what that space is. Those pathways that are articulated there, and I have another form for you that we could share. It's on paper here, I know, but it's the different courses. Now, these are not all the classes, all right? You notice I'm looking at Mr. Hoffman right now, too. There's a 4-year sequence of math that goes along with each of these classes right now. But the pathways that we've articulated there, the science, computer science, engineering, biomedical science, healthcare, engineering, the biomedical science, those are the 2 fastest growing areas and pathways we have right now. Our traditional trades pathways as well, with regards to the automotive and engines, our construction, the welding, machining, and then also cabinetry, woodworking. Believe it or not, we have a lot of students that actually get careers within that last one. The digital media, informational technology, that's Red Hawk Media, and then ag science as well. These courses, as you take a look, there's a lot of boxes there and lots of different colors. They demonstrate the courses that are the Project Lead the Way, which Ryan will speak about in a minute, but also our own electives, our work with Blackhawk Tech, and also all the partnerships that we have as well through the Start College Now. The journey that we've taken over the last 5 years, and actually I'll even say it's longer than that. We wanted to give it just a little bit of what the board and the administrative team and our teaching staff have just done an amazing job the last 5 years of really preparing to be able to put this new facility into place. 2016-17 was a major reorganization. There's a few here that remember we really reorganized the entire. Brian was in there. We reorganized the entire tech ed courses. We started to add things like articulated classes with like the gas metal arc welding. We had certificate programs. Amy Kenyon was brought on board to start to work on those partnerships. The next year, we really began the computer science classes. Prior to that, we had computer classes, but we did not have a true computer science program. That's something that was we identified as a need. And we're very pleased with the staff that we've brought on board. Like Shaver does an amazing job with that. We also, as a district, began to explore the next generation science standards. And one of the real and while this is a 6-12 actually district-wide, but as we take a look at what NGSS does, it really brings together the technology and engineering skills into the science content and the use of math as well. As part of STEM, as I mentioned before, is how do you integrate those other next-gen science standards? Those actually did that very well. That was a very good decision, and the work that the science teachers and all teachers in the district have been done to implement those really moves us forward on that. 18-19, we began to talk to buildings. We've been talking to buildings for a while, but we talk about how to the design of a high school and the design of the new addition, how we could bring those different areas together. The next year we started to look at Project Lead the Way, and Ryan will talk more about that, but we were looking for the curriculum. We were strong in the areas of our traditional tech ed classes, and obviously ag science has been strong here for 92 years, all right? But looking at in engineering, we had started to dabble with computer science. We identified the Project Lead the Way curriculum as probably the best that's out there and began to launch that. And that was with the engineering and your science pathways. And then this last year, we started the biomedical science pathway as well. That was added to some very strong courses we already had with like Ms. Schmidt's, the anatomy and physiology classes and some of the CNA classes that students are taking through Blackhawk Tech. The 2 courses that we're adding for PLTW biomedical science really make a really nice package for those students and the large number of students wanting to go into those fields. And as we move forward, we have the new facility to be able to do this. And we are creating a new STEM council, which actually works with middle school teachers, all teachers that are in that area that used to really be in different parts of the campus, that now literally are right next to each other. How do we continue to work together and find new ways? And a lot of it's about problem solving. How can we present a problem to students where they have to think, what do I need to know from science? What do I need to know from math? What technology do I not know yet I'm going to have to teach myself? How do we work together? The idea behind those flex spaces in the large work areas between the classrooms is to encourage the classes to work together, and to encourage the cross-content ideas and problem solving and students working together. It was reassuring to see. I saw Jennifer Ramsden and Sean Harvey, math and science teacher, who, 2 25-year teachers here who were already starting to do that. But this STEM council is going to really focus on how we can make that a reality. And with that, I'll let Ryan talk more about PLTW.
All right. So as Jeremy alluded to, as we're looking at making some plans for the future, we had talked about should we build it ourselves? We have a lot of amazing staff here in Milton, but we wanted something tried and true. We wanted something with an amazing reputation, with proven results, and one that would translate in good opportunities for our students. So first off, Project Lead the Way is one of the premier engineering programs in the United States. It's a nonprofit organization. It is in every single state in the United States, as well as every single U.S. territory. So it is widely used. It is well known, and it is, if you will, the gold standard, if you will, for engineering programs. We wanted that for our kids. We wanted that for our students, and we had the vision for the facilities, and we wanted to make sure that we had the curriculum and the rigor to back that up. In terms of some of the proven results, schools that are Project Lead the Way schools, it's been shown through lots of research that just having Project Lead the Way on campus has had a positive effect on their math and science achievement scores. It has had a positive influence on students' career interests and likelihood to continue on with their further education. Project Lead the Way has found that it has prepared students to move into engineering fields on a much higher basis, meaning that students that said, hey, I'm interested in being an engineer someday, versus students that actually took a Project Lead the Way class and said, I'm interested in being an engineer someday, much higher probability of actually going into that field. With that, we knew we wanted the rigor. We wanted something that would translate to credits. Their organization is always looking to get better. Every single year, they're adding on. When I was in a former district, there was only a handful of schools that where you could transfer high school credits or college credits. They are adding, Project Lead the Way is adding colleges every single year to that list. So 10, 15 years ago, there'd be only a few in the Midwest. Now it's pages and pages of colleges all over the United States where their credits will transfer to. Can you go on to the next slide, please? So we're not going to show this video because we're having some sound issues. And I will share this presentation with you tomorrow. I'd encourage you to watch the video. It's only about 5 minutes, but it does a really good job of summing up the Project Lead the Way programs. Really 5 areas. The first of which is launched pre-K through 5th grade. And that's a program that's growing around the United States, especially over the last couple of years. And again, very project-based, trying to connect science, technology, engineering, math all together, make learning fun, get kids more connected at an early age. The Gateway program is for the middle school program. And the great thing about their middle school program is you can kind of pick and choose modules that you think best fit your school and the ones that you would want to fit within your curriculum. So there's lots of leeway there. And then obviously the 3 high school programs are the computer science program, the engineering program, and then the biomedical science pathway. And Jeremy's going to talk about our journey and our numbers, which are really exciting.
Yeah, this is exciting here. And then as you take a look at some of the numbers. So in 2019-20, we started with the 3 courses. The IE, they talk everything in 3-letter digits. We start doing this. IED, that's Introduction to Engineering Design, and POE, the Principles of Engineering. We had 45 students and 9 students. That's the 2-course sequence there. And then this current year, that 45 turned into 53, those 9 turned into 19. And I'm excited that as the students are indicating interest in classes next year, that's 83 students interested in IED and 53 in POE. We'll see where those land. That's again, those are students who indicated that there's a course that they're interested in. They're building their schedules through the arena scheduling right now. But those, we've seen tremendous growth with those. The computer science principles class, and I will note there, if you take a look, there are there's 2 classes that actually align with both AP and PLTW. Computer science principles is one of those courses. So 18 students, had a little bit of dip this year, 19 students wishing to take that next year. That's actually that's a very hard course. I'm excited to see that many students that are willing to challenge themselves. But this is pretty amazing right here. So this year, Principles of Biomedical Science is the first year we had that. Ms. Farron has 44 students in that class. It has just been, this is the fastest growing area. We had 135 students who are interested in taking that course next year. You sit in that class once and you want to take that course as well. It's just absolutely amazing. And then with the second in that line of courses, Caitlin Anclam will be being trained this summer. I should say that staff who teach these courses are required to go to a 2-week training, and it's a residential training. And granted, with COVID, it became online. But you actually go, most times you go to MSOE, they stay in the dorms for 2 weeks, and it's 8 to 10 hours of instruction during the day, and you're studying all night, and you do that for 2 weeks in the summer. So the staff who choose to do this, you have to pass the course at the end of the 2 weeks in order to be able to teach this, in order for us to be able to offer that. So these are staff that we have invested in, and they're investing their time in as well. But Caitlin Anclam will be being trained this summer for the human body system. 64 students indicated those interests. Again, the asterisks are for those are the numbers of students who indicated interest. We're building the schedules now. It will be less than that, but we're still seeing huge growth for those areas. It's very exciting. What's the future of STEM here in Milton and Milton High School? I mentioned the STEM Council as we continue to look at ways to find the interdisciplinary and find ways to connect the different disciplines, connections between the content areas and relevance to future careers as well, and working with Amy Kenyon as we continue to drive students towards where are those careers in the future. And again, it's not just in the Project Lead the Way courses. I was talking, I think, with Leslie during the tour today, just about the growth in the number of students in the trades. I didn't speak to that as much tonight, but as part of the STEM, how can we continue to drive students towards those growing fields? That's part of the academic and career plan, the ACP that many of you have sat on. That entire process is driving students towards these areas. And then obviously connections to the community as well, finding ways to bring their knowledge into our content and utilize them, at both not just finding the areas to drive students to move students towards for careers, but also helping our staff do a great job of staying up to date. But the best way to do that is to find those people in the community that are doing it, bringing them into a relationship with our staff so they can continue to know what's the most recent information in those fields. With that, the additional square footage, as I mentioned, 33,920. It's a large building. It's quite the investment. I'm excited with what is happening within that square footage, though. Now and the idea for the next 50 years, we will continue to be able to grow and expand and try to stay relevant to what's out there. And again, Ryan, I thank you guys for your support through this journey through STEM. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Just a quick comment. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to know who will make up the STEM council.
Okay, so in that STEM councils, we have members from science class, we have 2 science teachers, we have 2 math teachers, we have an engineering teacher, we have a teacher from ag science, and we have a teacher from tech ed. A couple of those actually cross over. And then also Amy Canyon, school career coordinator, and then we have 2 members from the middle school as well, tech ed and the science teachers. We're just getting that launched. Again, the STEM council is just our staff. We also do have our community. We have a community group. Ms. Kenyon does work with, and that's with the community members. That's been established as well, and we're eager to get them into the facility as well.
Do you see adding art to the council eventually?
I do. You know, when you talk about, you know, where are the arts in Milton? First of all, we both have the visual arts, you have the performing arts. Obviously, there's been a lot of resources and the development of the performing arts over the years. Dua Vu actually has one of our art teachers in the visual arts. He has a degree actually in STEM education. For example, you know, the concepts here are not just in this new facility. We have a new 3D clay printer that they are working with in ceramics now. So it's actually taking some of those designs that you can design, and instead of maybe putting it into a 3D printer out of plastic, we can actually 3D print out of clay. It's pretty cool. But yes, that would be part of that. That's that creative mindset, and bring the creative part of the mind to the problem solving process.
My only comment was I wanted to thank you for sharing the STEM paths tonight. The enthusiasm that you and Ryan have is clear, in the projected student counts in these areas of huge future employment growth is very encouraging as well. So again, my comment was just simply to say thanks for the work on this, and help you and the rest of the staff time that went into it, getting it implemented and put into place. So again, just thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I also want to say thanks. A lot of great information. I also want to thank the community for passing that referendum so that we could get this fantastic investment. Now, did I hear that the Project Lead the Way courses count as college credit? Is that even if it's not an AP course?
Yeah, even if it's not an AP course, there is an end of, now everything, the last 12 months has been weird, all right? Okay. Newsflash. There is a program in Wisconsin, it's through MSOE. There is an end of course exam that students can take for credit. That was not given last year, which is unfortunate. And we're still looking to see what is going to happen with PLTW this year. But yes, there is the opportunity to have MSOE credits through passing that end of term exam for any of our PLTW courses.
Is that mainly like MSOE, or does Whitewater accept it, or Madison?
It is as with any articulated credit or co-credit. It's up to that the higher learning institution. It's some are yes, some do not accept it.
Okay,
it depends.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no other questions or comments? I would just have one, and I would echo Rick and Dave's comments here too. I mean, the enthusiasm is palpable, and I've had the luxury of seeing that particular wing evolve and develop through its progress. I would task us unilaterally with a challenge. You know, we're going to come up upon some opportunities for open houses for this building when the rest of the additions are complete as we go through summer. And I hope more and more of our community gets a chance to see that STEM wing. I would challenge us to how we can explain to our community the real benefit and relevance of that particular addition and what that allows us to do. I think maybe the folks in this room have a pretty good appreciation for, at least academically, where this takes us and what it offers us for opportunities. I want to know how we can share that with our broader community so they really understand, you know. And I was one of the loudest and longest advocates for this entire building project, and this just gives me a lot more ammunition, if you will, for why this is an incredibly great place that Milton is in now and will be in the future. So help us, I guess collectively, I'm just throwing that out there, help us develop ways that we can explain and help folks understand the real benefit of that approach to education. and how we can evolve, because I think we all know it'll be different 5 years from now and 10 years from now and 15 years from now. So hats off to everyone that's had some work in that. So, okay, and that completes the normal portion of the agenda. Miscellaneous is next. A is action on staffing reports.
I'll make a motion to approve the staffing report as presented.
Second.
Motion from Rick, seconded by Dave, to approve the staffing report. Questions on it? I hear none. All in favor of approval of the report as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Staffing report is approved. Letter B is gifts and donations. And we have a few more on the list than sometimes. $11,632 from a broad group of our timeless supporters.
I'll second.
Thank you. Jennifer, by Dave, approve our gifts and donations with our usual gratitude for origin. All in favor? By saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Meeting dates is next. And what have you got, Mr. Donovan?
We have a couple upcoming meetings that are already scheduled. April 14th is the Benefits Advisory Group. They'll be meeting in the PDC at 4:30, again on April 14th. It says PDC on the doc, or on the Post-it note that you gave me.
Yes, that is a virtual meeting with Al joining remotely.
All right, so virtual meeting on April 14th for the Benefits Advisory Group at 4:30. HR committee will be meeting with the MEA on Thursday, April 15th. That HR committee will be meeting at 3:30 and then meeting with the MEA at 4:30. And that is in the PDC, correct? All right. On Wednesday, April 21st, another HR committee meeting, again at 4:30 in the PDC. We have our next regular board meeting on April 26th. That will be back at the district office in the PDC. That's at 6:30 at the regular time and regular location. Again, that's 2 weeks from tonight on April 26th. We met today and are meeting again next week. It's not a board committee, but the teacher compensation model work group had their first meeting today. We're meeting again next week, and we'll bring more information to the board on that work at the next meeting that we have.
And that is all of them?
Yes.
Okay, that concludes the regular portion of the agenda. We have an exec session scheduled, which I will read the verbiage for if you bear with me. I would look for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to state statute 1985 sub 1 sub C sub E, statute 19.82 sub 1, and statute 111.7 to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Subject matter is 21 to 2023 administrative and supervisor contracts and a discussion of negotiations with MEA. And to keep you all on the edge of your seats, we are potentially reconvening an open session.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Rick, seconded by Mike, and polling the audience to go into exec. Jennifer? Yes. And Mike?
Yes.
And Dave? Yes. And Joe is yes. And Shelley?
Yes.
And Rick?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
We are in executive session. If you do not stick around, thank you for coming.